Welcome to Lead, Grow, Live, where our goal is to help you lead your people, grow your company, and live your life. Chad Bourque, thanks for coming in, man.
I appreciate you having me. I'm excited, man.
Yeah, you drove in from Baton Rouge. I appreciate that too.
Anything I can do, man.
I know it. And that's just like you, though. You're a giver, man. You just keep giving.
We didn't talk about but I might as well start off. But my personal life philosophy is help. Right?
Yeah.
The H is for humility, excellence, learning, and then purpose, right? And the purpose for me is to help. So it's not a bad way to start.
Can I steal that?
Yeah. I hear that. Well, it aligns to your.
It
your
does.
View, right?
Yeah. But
we've talked about that.
You do know there's a book there, right? You should write a
copyright,
book.
Trademark. If I have to TM,
I know.
Thanks.
Yeah, he used it in commerce.
Yeah, that's right, exactly.
That's awesome, man. So, as one of our advisors for administration, I'd like to kind of introduce that before we get going too far.
Sure.
You got a lot going on, so give me a rundown of everything you're involved in and how you're doing with it.
Yeah, no, man, I'd love to. So professionally, I work at Gallagher, and we do, people strategy, trying to help organizations, attract and retain the best talent they can. I'm also heavily involved in our internal audit chapter in Baton Rouge. I'm the president of that chapter, and then moving up to the district representative. So I'm going to have about 5 chapters reporting to me, which is fantastic. Super passionate about that. We're kind of, as a member of that organization, kind of really putting the future of internal audit and what that looks like, and how do we progress the profession.
Yeah.
So it's a huge thing there. Do a lot of work with the Ascension Chamber of Commerce, and a government affairs and advocacy committee. And, we got a podcast, selfish plug, Connecting Ascension. If you haven't heard it, go ahead and check it out. But,
I will, sure will.
But yeah, no, it's got a lot of things going on. And
family.
All good. Family, yes. Just had a baby, a 9-month-old. Found out we got another one on the way in September.
No.
I didn't tell you that, but yeah. Hey, everybody. We might have to edit that out.
Yeah,
I'll have to ask my wife.
Yeah, if you have permission.
We've told a few people, but now I don't know if all of YouTube could find out. But
you call me tonight.
Yeah, I'll let you know tonight. But yeah, so blessed. I mean, my 7-year-old's full baseball mode. So we were at the ballpark this past weekend, and we will be at the ballpark, I think, the next 15 weekends in a row. So
yeah, I remember those years.
It's all fun, all great times.
Yeah, good stuff.
But a lot going on, yes.
Yeah, you have a lot going on. So, one of the things that we sometimes need advice on in the administrative role is you've handled a lot of stuff. I mean, so you're an internal auditor. You worked some risk management, human resources, kind of. You're more into people development, though, I would say, right?
Yeah, look, I mean, honestly, I like to do it all. But, one of the things we've talked about in the past, and I'm a very big proponent of this for all organizations, is that people are your biggest asset. Like, people are your 100%. Most important asset for any organization. Even if you're a team of one, if you're a solo entrepreneur, you still have a person that you need to take care of, right?
Yeah.
When we're talking about companies and the growth trajectory and where they want to go, it is absolutely critical to attract and retain the best quality talent you can.
Yeah. And
so you have to look after your people.
Yeah.
And you have to be a great leader, right? Because high performing employees are attracted to great leaders. More often than not, data will tell us people often leave an organization not because of the values or the culture of the organization, but because of their manager. It's statistics can easily show you that.
You're early on for the light bulb moment, right?
Hopefully we'll have a lot of those for the people watching. But
I mean, that is a big deal, though. Tell me about some of the things that leaders need to be doing or leaders do well that either keep or don't attract.
Sure. For me, what has always been critical is communication.
Yeah.
So you need to be able to communicate the vision and the mission, where you're going, to be able to bring your people along the way.
Yeah.
And if you don't do that, then they're going to be stuck in their day-to-day, not understanding some of the things that they're doing, some of the tasks that they complete, Why do I do this? Why do I
Yeah,
have to do this?
yeah, and it helps so much to know why I'm doing something.
The P in my help purpose, right? You got to give your employees a purpose.
Yeah,
Like they need to understand how their purpose fits in with the organization's purpose. And it's absolutely critical.
yeah, no doubt about it. And as the leader, though, if our purpose, our personal purpose, doesn't align with the company, then we're probably not in the right company, right?
Absolutely.
And so, yeah, what I always say is that in order to attract the right people, you have to be so clear about your vision and where you want to take it to attract those folks. The problem happens though when we lack clarity, right?
Correct.
They only see our vision from their own perspective.
Exactly.
Even if they're on the leadership team or they're a key employee, they see it from their perspective. So when you can get them to see your vision, from your perspective and how you, oh man.
And it has to be very clear and in very, very simple, plain language, because everybody communicates differently.
That's right.
We got billions of people on the earth and every single one of them communicates differently.
That's exactly right.
We're all in our own universe. Nobody knows how I think and how I feel except for me. And that's barely even half the time, right? But the person next to me, I might sit next to them every day for years.
Yeah.
They hear a different message.
Yeah, for sure.
Now, people talk and and that leads to gossip and things that you don't want when there's not lack of clarity.
That's exactly right.
Absolutely. And that it creates frustration and it creates angst and anxiety.
Yep.
And that's the last thing you want in your high performers, future leaders.
Yep. And then next thing you know, there's confusion and delays. And success loves speed, right?
Absolutely.
And so communicate, get it received well, and then you're off to execution.
That's the first thing, in my opinion, is being able to communicate your purpose and what you're doing to execute on that purpose.
I love that, man. So what's next, or what are some of the other key components of great leadership?
You got to have time. Give them time. Give them your time. You don't understand how much they appreciate your time. They look up to you, right? You're their manager, you're their boss. They look up to you, and so giving them your time doesn't have to be a ton.
Yeah.
But regular check-ins are super critical, super important.
So important,
and it doesn't happen. It doesn't happen all the time.
Yeah.
And it happens, let's say, not as frequent as you would think, and it happens different across every manager, right? So the company, if you're an owner of a company, maybe put some processes in place to where your leaders are taking care of their people. The other big one, the other real big one is anybody who is a high performer or very ambitious, and those are the people you want to work in your company, they need to know the roadmap. They need to know where they fit in 5 years.
That's
and
right.
I think that's why we're going to come back to this probably a lot, Jeff, but vision, right? Vision and purpose. For me, knowing I always try to at least have a 5-year plan, like know where I'm going and what I'm going to be doing.
Yeah.
And so I need to know that my leader or my manager has a similar alignment and
how can I contribute toward that?
Yeah. And what can I do to get better?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. What's the next thing? What's on your vision? What's on your 5-year plan that I can help you get to?
That's exactly right. Because now they know, look, I can count on Chad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right.
He's going to come through for me.
Yeah.
So you elevate. Yeah, that's outstanding.
Yeah. Well, and the other thing, it goes both ways, right? As a manager, I want to have my people replace me.
Oh, absolutely.
Right. I want them to step up into so I can go up.
Yeah.
Right. And so continually training and giving them time. I mean, the time can be anything, but developing the people is critical.
Yeah. See, and so much. So I have a kind of a course I teach on a company growth chart rather than your typical org chart or accountability chart, which is always top down. These are the people who report to me. These are people that I manage and I hold accountable. How about, with the company growth chart, it's bottom up. It's how can I develop and grow the person that I'm responsible for, right? And grow and develop that. And so that's exactly what you're saying.
Yeah.
We just got to reverse it sometimes.
Absolutely. Yeah. 100%. I completely agree.
I love that. Where'd you get this insight? I know that you spent about 8 years in Australia. Tell me about your background.
Yeah. So I went to LSU. I did accounting. The biggest impact probably in my life was doing the internal audit program at LSU. Opened up my eyes to a whole world outside of tax and audit, which thank you, Lord, for that.
Yeah, I know.
I'm not an auditor. I'm not a tax person. But whenever my family moved to Australia, I ended up got a job with KPMG, a big four accounting firm, went into their internal audit practice. And it's funny, I don't know how the Australians are going to like me saying this, but I guess, there's definitely a difference in work ethic between the U.S. and other cultures. And so I was there 7:00 in the morning, till after 5, staying late because I wanted to advance. My 5-year goal was like, I want to get to manager in 3.5 years.
Yeah.
Whether that was achievable or not, I put in the hours, I put in the time, I learned everything I could about the process. And you know what? The other thing I did, I asked. I put my hand up. So there was
that's another light bulb, man.
Honestly, it don't matter who you are.
Yeah.
Male, female, it doesn't matter. Put your hand up.
Yeah.
Say, I want to ask, huge. I want to do this.
I tell my kids in college, ask your professor, right? Go talk to your professor. But in the workforce, it's crazy. I'm glad you said that.
Who's gonna like disarm or be like, no, we don't want you to be ambitious. We don't want you to do these things. Nobody, because every leader is going to be like, yeah, put your hand up.
Yeah.
So I put my hand up. I ended up going to Africa, for a job.
With
project,
KPMG?
KPMG, yeah. So we would do projects for all these mining companies and oil and gas and stuff. And so, yeah, I got to go to this project in West Africa, in Guinea. Yeah, so after one project in Africa, suddenly I'm in Australia and I'm like this mining guru who has been all over the world doing projects. So I got put on a lot more projects. So, I lived in Perth for 3.5 years. And then I went over and lived in Melbourne for 4.5 years, all with KPMG, got to travel all over the world. Crazy places, wild experiences.
Not bad on a resume with KPMG.
No, it definitely set me up.
It's kind of funny though, because you're talking about the work ethic over there, just culture, right?
It's culture, yeah.
But the culture of KPMG is to drive these young guys, man.
Yes,
yes. It's surprising that you found a balance, but how did you find that balance?
I'm going to be honest with you. Probably I didn't really have a balance in my time with KPMG. Yeah. I didn't have a family at the time. I didn't have a wife or anything like that. And my goal was to climb.
Yeah.
Right? My goal was to go.
Got it.
I took on a lot of responsibility. I was in charge of all of our recruitment for our incoming graduates and our interns and things like that. So I developed their training programs. I loved it. I love that people thing, right?
Yeah.
How do I bring these kids in, give them all of the advantages to really be successful? And it's really wild now to kind of look on LinkedIn and see where some of them have ended up,
Yeah.
Got a buddies at Lululemon, I'm like, oh, hey, give me some free stuff. But it's just incredible because, we talk about help. And if you can help one person and you help that person change their life, then more often than not, they're going to help change somebody else's life.
Because they received it and they remember it, hopefully. And then they
ripple effect.
Yeah. Yeah, it's huge, man.
So, butterfly effects happen all the time. And hopefully, there's some butterflies flapping out there that I was able to touch. And you get to a point where, towards the end of my time at KPMG, I was really traveling because I had all the experience, right? I was one of very few people in the organization that had been and done all of the mining and oil and gas projects that I did. They wanted me on all of them.
Yeah.
And so by the time I finished, I was like 75% international travel.
Jeez.
I look back, I think there was one year, it was March and I was on my 8th flight. And, I was just kind of like, all right.
Yeah.
Your purpose can change.
Oh, sure.
There's no hard and fast rules on vision and purpose. And I kind of realized that it was time for me to get back to my family and be close to them again.
Mm-hmm.
So I said goodbye to KPMG as hard as it was, and moved back to the States.
Yeah, got it.
And, it's been an incredible ride, but I cannot thank the Lord enough for that first 8 years. Like by far one of the best ways to start a career.
Yeah.
And to see some of the things I've seen and look all the processes and companies that I was able to try and improve.
Yeah. And that's where I want to go next, because you've mentioned to me before how internal auditing gave you the path to figuring out processes, not just operational processes, but marketing all the way to social media, right?
Oh, absolutely.
I want to know more about that because I'm just intrigued how an internal auditor can help you in business and grow a company.
Sure. I think the easiest way to kind of explain it is through what we call enterprise risk management, right? And so every organization, I don't care how big or how small, if we talk about growing companies, in my opinion, the best way to grow, the best way to run an organization efficiently is through managing your risks. When a company has their top 10 to 15 risks, basically what I would do as an internal auditor is we'd look at those top risks and we say, okay, well, we want to go and look at this process that you say controls your risks. I would look at that process and we'd go from the very beginning to the very end, and we'd step out each part of the process and we would look for duplication, look for gaps, look for errors. And if we found errors or issues in the transactions, we do root cause analysis.
Yeah.
And ultimately, when you get down 5 whys, you go down to that nth degree, you figure out what that root cause is, and you provide management with the recommendations on how to eliminate that issue.
Yeah.
And you want to fix it, right? You don't want to put a Band-Aid on it. And
so you give them you don't just report that we picked this up. And one thing I want to make sure everybody hears is the 5 whys is, kind of like go 5 levels deep, asking the question why, right?
People get annoyed with me. I mean, they always have.
But
As an
why?
internal auditor, exactly. Internal audit, anybody says audit, they automatically put their hands up.
It's a scary word.
But they get frustrated sometimes because I just ask why.
Yeah.
And then when you get to a point where you don't have an answer for that, okay.
Then we're starting
to
figure it out.
Yeah.
So I love that, I build processes like that, right? So I try to build processes that create efficiency, because that's the only way to generate time. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
If you want to add time, get more efficient, right? Yeah. So you would lay out the process, step 1 to done, and you would find these gaps and these errors and, I guess, inefficiencies, and then you end up go the 5 whys and you create a report with solutions, right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
And you did that in all kind of different processes.
I mean, any department of a company that you could name, yes, I've audited something in that department.
That's really fascinating.
We got to a point where towards the end we were auditing company culture.
Yeah.
And that was an interesting one, right? Because we take some top down, their philosophies, and we'd interview some of the executives, but then we'd also interview from the bottom up, and you see the disconnects.
Yeah,
right?
yeah, no, total disconnect.
We talked about it earlier. Communication is one of the, and I can almost say it before that's already in my report. Probably, I'll take it out if it's not true, but communication was always an issue anytime we looked at culture.
That's fascinating, man.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I have to believe that you have opportunities probably for your future that you can look at a company and break it down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Let's figure out what's working, what's not working.
Absolutely.
And so does that entrepreneurial bug get in you every now and again?
I've always, I've always thought that at some point, there was really 2 options, right? I was either going to be a CEO.
Yeah.
Or I was going to start my own company, and it's.
And, hey,
I got a little bit of time.
Yeah. Let's let the journey reveal itself.
Yeah. Look, I mean, the funny thing is the more conversations you have, right? We're having a conversation today. The more conversations, and that's another. I'm not going to call it a light bulb moment because you got the button, but I will share probably the most important thing that I've learned over my time is that you can never underestimate the power of networking. Yeah. It's I appreciate it. I
really
threw it
is,
out there.
It really is true.
Hopefully he presses it.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going to be tomorrow.
That's right.
None of us know.
Yeah.
But like we're having a conversation today. We don't know who is going to watch this.
That's right.
No idea. But it could be a person that wants some help.
Yeah.
I hope so. Because we're here. That's what we're here to do, is to help, right?
That's right.
But I go and help somebody and no telling where that leads. Ultimately, if I can treat people with kindness and help people, then I'm gonna be on the right track.
100%. And open to having those conversations. Well, one of the things, so I don't want to sound like that old guy, but I'm starting to be that old guy, is getting the youth of today to pick up the phone and reach out and ask a question, or make contact with your professor.
Sure.
And just go to office hours. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's surprising to me. There's a gap in the communication world, right?
Mm-hmm.
Between, I would say, anybody under 25 and folks over 50
Sure.
for me, right?
Sure.
They just don't like talking to people.
No, they text. They can text.
And that's part of it. Social media has probably created that, you know what I mean? Maybe even COVID, right? We were home, you know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
And I would say video games, you can talk over a video game while you're playing with your friend.
Sure.
And that was their socialization. And that's, I
Yeah,
don't know, man.
I don't either. I think, it kind of goes back to one of the things I talked about a little bit earlier, but like a good manager gives people time.
Yep.
One of the things I like to do is, and we kind of started off this year, but I was in a fraternity, and going to the fraternity and talking to the younger students and just allowing them to ask questions.
Yeah.
It's like, guys, come ask me some questions.
Yeah. There's a next step after this.
Yeah. Like, but giving them that opportunity, whereas last year they didn't have that opportunity.
Yeah.
So maybe this year, and man, I was blown away by the number of questions I got, and like, how do I do this? And what about that? I'm like, these are great questions. If I don't have an answer, give me a second, but we'll figure it out. And then guess what happened? One of them came up to me after and asked me for help.
That's amazing. That's all you're there to do.
What do you know?
That's right.
And so I have his resume, and I'm going to try and see what I can do. I can't make any promises, but
sure.
I'm going to do the best I can because that kid asked for help.
Yeah, man, that's huge.
Yeah, it was
huge.
Yeah, it felt good. That was a good feeling. You know what I mean?
Yeah, good for you for doing that too. And there are other opportunities beyond organizations or fraternities or whatever. What I keep hearing from you is internally in your company, give people time. And that's kind of the theme.
Well, because here's the thing: it's not only is it beneficial for them, but you're going to get something out of it too. Mm-hmm. You always do. I mean, I can't guarantee it, but I mean, we'll be honest, you're probably going to get something out of it too.
It pays you back.
Or if nothing more than building better relationships.
Mm-hmm. And so that's another thing that I'm big on with kind of the youth of today. I'm totally that gray-headed guy. It is all about relationships. Your first opportunity is often comes from a relationship you had. Yeah. Which then set you up for your next step, right? Yeah. And on and on. It's a big part of it. So communicating to build relationships, and you kind of have to be intentional, right? And that's what you said, network. You have to network with the right people. So it's kind of like the right activity will create more activity and productivity.
And don't be discouraged by rejection.
Yeah, exactly.
That's going to happen.
Yeah.
That's going to happen. Yeah. But if you stay true to what you want.
Yeah, I love it.
That's hard too, though.
Knowing what you want.
Knowing what you want.
It's too much out there.
Yeah, well, especially when you're young,
Yeah.
A lot of these students, they don't even know major yet. I'm like, well, what do you enjoy doing?
Yeah.
I want to be an owner. Oh, okay. Well, that's good. That's great.
Well,
what are you going to
go to accounting?
Yeah. That's what I tend to sometimes say. Oh, man, try accounting. Because at least you're going to get a sense of financial statements and stuff like that, but there's so much knowledge out there.
Yeah,
like it's so easy to learn. Yeah. That's why the L in help is learn.
Yeah. I love that, man. I know that when you were in Australia, you traveled all over the place.
Sure.
It's kind of a perfect segue into it's a lot more about life than work, right?
Oh, absolutely.
So in your day-to-day, how do you help people have that balance if there is such a thing?
Yeah, I think it's not easy. Yeah. It's not easy, especially when you are starting something new or you're trying to grow and trying to do all that stuff. I think ultimately you have to look at all of the things and you have to show some priority. Don't have too many things on the list.
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I think part of it is we go and we create these to-do lists that are 40 something things long, and you don't feel accomplished at the end of the day because you only got 3 or 4 of them. That's not a good way to
It's
manage
just
your time and
perspective, though, right?
Yeah,
Let's just look at what'd you get done.
you're setting yourself up to fail mentally when
Yeah.
you accomplish 2% of your tasks,
Yeah.
right? Focus. The book is, I think it's called The One Thing.
Yeah, it's great. Geller.
It is. You got it up there. See, that was from my head. I just noticed that. I was like, I wonder if he has it.
Yeah.
But it's about like prioritizing the one thing that day. That if you complete the one thing that day, that's going to get you towards your ultimate vision, towards your ultimate purpose.
Yep.
You can hang your hat on that,
Yep.
right? And you feel accomplished. And what's that going to do? When you go home, you're accomplished. You're going to have much better feeling about yourself. And
Yep.
you'll be able to give yourself to your family or to the people that you care about, right?
Yeah.
But again, people.
Yeah, it's people priorities. We talked about in the last episode with Cherie Hebert, priorities and figuring out what's important to you. And so a lot of what you're saying is resonating with me because we talked about it with her, but it's true.
Yeah.
The other thing with relationships and balance, I think about families. And so you're married, you have kids, and if you didn't communicate properly with her, saying, hey, baby, life's going to be a little out of balance for a couple of weeks or a couple of months, then there could be frustration and confusion at home. That doesn't help you back at work. So communication runs through everything. Fascinating.
Yeah, it is. Like we talked, people and communication.
Yep.
And people communicate differently. So I'm not going to sit here and say I'm the best because I'm not. Maybe I've failed to communicate that I was coming all the way to Lafayette to do this, and so I'm not going to be home.
Surprise.
Right? Yeah. So would you mind picking up the babies? I appreciate it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to be, I have to improve my communication.
Sure.
But I think that, and you're segueing me perfectly. But that's the E, right? Excellence, right?
Yep.
Every day, get 1% better every day.
Yes, indeed.
Look, we may never get to perfect, but we can strive for perfect.
Yeah.
Right. And we can try different things to figure out what works best for us. Experiment, success. And we may fail 9 out of 10 times. But that one time when you get it right, boom, you're perfect. Closest to perfection
Closest you can get.
Closest you can get. But then you have a process, right? And you follow that process going forward. So you create a system for yourself that works.
Yep.
Right? And learn from your mistakes. Learn.
Dude.
Everything is about this.
If it's easy to say, I want to write a book, and you're not saying, I'm begging you to write the book. It's hard to finish it.
Yeah.
So if you need help.
Absolutely. Look, I'll take that.
Yeah. Getting that book out to people, because that's what they need to hear. And they also need to hear this episode.
Sure.
So, man, I cannot thank you enough for coming over.
Yeah, absolutely.
I got to get you back home to Baton Rouge now.
I do appreciate my wife appreciates that.
Yeah.
But absolute pleasure, man. I'm happy to be here anytime. This has been a lot of fun.
Yeah, so much to offer.
Yeah.
Keep at it, brother. Keep helping.
I appreciate it.